Good evening. My name is Lincoln Sanborn. I'm a graduate student on the baseball team. Pleased to introduce Joe Holland, former teammate of the next inductee. Joe will be presenting Pat Lessard for induction. Please welcome Joe.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to introduce you to Pat Lessard. Pat and I roomed together here at St. Joe's. He was one of the best pitchers I've ever seen, and I had the pleasure of catching for him. So, just tell you a couple stories of when we played together. One of my favorite was against one of our biggest rivals down the road here, USM. They had a really good team, and they just come off, I think, a national championship, and we were in like a slight rebuilding mode here. And Pat was like the biggest power pitcher, probably in all of New England, maybe even further. He could just flat out hum it in there. He could throw mid-90s, always in the 90s, had all the stuff, big intimidating guy. And USM, they had a hitter that was like the equivalent of Pat. You know, he was a big-time power hitter. He could flat out jack him. And there was one day they met up here, and Pat had just thrown. He threw the night before. And he threw the night before that. He was our closing pitcher, so he'd come in and save the game for us when we needed him. And he had that day scheduled off. Coach gave him the night off, but you know, Pat was always a gamer, and if we needed him, he would come in and shut him down. So USM was here, and we had something like a 5-run lead in the 9th inning, and it was looking pretty good. And then they put a little rally together on us, and I think they got a couple runs back pretty quick, and they loaded up the bases, and Coach had Pat warm up down there and brought Pat in. And Pat came out and just like normal, throwing 95 miles an hour. And he gets out there. I think he threw a little harder that night. And the first pitch, he gets all wound up, throws in there, and he let out a grunt. I've never heard of grunt that he threw. That's how hard he threw it. And Crapo, he was the same thing. He swung as hard as he could, and he let out a grunt. And that ball hit that mitt so loud when it went by him that it was quiet in the whole place. Strike one. So then Pat gets the ball back, and you know, he doesn't even look for a sign. He knows what's going to happen. Everybody in the park knew what was going to happen, and it was pretty tense. And he reared back and let one fly again. He grunted, and Crapo, he took a big cut of that thing, and he grunted too, and whew, just like that, right in the catcher's mitt. 2 strikes on him. Then third pitch, Pat gets the ball back, and he rears back, same thing, throws as hard as he can in there, grunts. Crapo, he grunts. And, yeah. Well, I'll bring you back a little earlier to a different story. We'll come back to that one. So, the day I knew Pat was a Hall of Fame pitcher was the very first day I got to catch him. I was here as a freshman. There were a couple of junior catchers ahead of me. Eric Pileski here in the crowd was one of them, and Nate Martell, excellent catchers. So for me to get a shot in any game, I was pretty excited and nervous at that point. You guys know, freshmen here know what that's like. And we were down in Florida on our spring training, and we were playing on one of the fields that a lot of teams didn't like to play on. It was because the sun set directly behind the pitcher's mound, right where the pitcher releases the ball. The hitters hated it, the umpires hated it, catchers hated it worse than anything. So Nate Martell was the catcher then, and he came up with some kind of knee injury all of a sudden when that sun started to set right now. So naturally, Coach looked down to Eric Pileski, who was next in line, and Eric came up with some kind of oblique strain that would heal as soon as the sun set. So third line was me, and I was happy to get the chance to go in there until I realized that the sun was right behind Pat's hand, throwing 92 miles an hour. So the umpire's looking at me, Pat's first warm-up pitch, and I think I heard it go by my ear. I never saw the thing, because it hit the backstop. And he looked at me and said, "Son, I think you ought to go find a dark pair of sunglasses." So I went and got them, and caught a couple of warm-up pitches. And then I went out to the mound. I couldn't even see him. You couldn't see that ball 2 feet in front of the plate was in. So I went out to the mound and I said, "Pat," I said, "this is what I'm working with. I can't see it. The hitter can't see it, they're not going to hit it." I said, "You hit this mitt. I'm going to put it up as soon as I get it. And I'm not going to move this thing. If you hit it, we're going to be just fine. So I went back, and I put that mitt up. That umpire got behind me. He got real small. Look over your shoulder. Well, he got behind me where the only thing out was his eyes. He didn't want to get hit, so I missed it. And Pat hit that mitt with 9 straight pitches, and I never moved that mitt more than that. And it was that day that I said, well, this guy is something special. So that was the first time. I can't tell you all Pat's stats, how many strikeouts or wins or saves he had. He wouldn't be here tonight if he didn't have all that. But I was down in Florida this year with him. We were down there fishing, and he got the call from Coach that he got inducted in the Hall of Fame, and it was special. The first thing he did, he got on the phone and called his wife and called a bunch of friends and family. And the first thing I did was I got on there and I called the induction committee here at St. Joe's and I said, geez, what took so long to get him in here? This is one of the greatest pitchers I've ever seen. The career he had here, and they said, well, to be honest, if you go back to that game in 1999 against Jason Crapo, we were still waiting for that home run to land.
Yeah, well, it's really no way to follow that. I should just say thank you and go on with the dinner. But St. Joe's was, you know, some of the best years of my life. I was a young kid coming from a small school, and I had the opportunity to go maybe a bigger school and, you know, be one of just several hundred kids, you know, to try to make it. And I happened to come down one summer for a camp here, and Coach was here, and I you know, got to meet and talk with him. But I met a man who was a pitching coach here. His wife, Lynn's right here in the audience, and Bob. If you've ever known him, he was a man that very few words and kind of stoic. Didn't say much. And I come in, you know, think, you know, geez, I can throw 90. Nothing I need to know from this guy. And always had his cup of coffee, and his wife close by his side. Beautiful little lady, she's right there. So I was throwing in the pen, and he says to me, he says, pull your socks down. Who's this guy telling me to pull my socks down? I go ball 95, no one's telling me to pull my socks down. And so he says, pull your socks down. So I kind of had a little go head to head. I was in high school at the time, you know, put my socks down for anyone. I wore them high, I liked it that. So, whatever, we get on quite well. I mean, he's crotchety. He was crotchety at times. But we seemed to hit it off because I was a little crotchety myself. And so anyway, the year goes by. I finished the camp. We end up having a pretty good rapport. The next year, I'm finding a place to go, and I think, you know, St. Joe's, I'm going to go check it out. You know, I know the pitching coach. I met the coach. He's a really nice guy. And I also hear from, you know, around, there's some great ball players going there. Todd Spencer right there. He was coming, you know, probably one of the best hitters, you know, in the state at the time. And Gillespie the same. You know, he was right from a couple towns over from me. So I said, you know what, I'm going to get, I know some of these guys, I'm going to go give it a shot. I came here, and you know, it was the best move I've ever made. Coach Sanborn, it's not a coach that, you know, you show up to the field and he's there. He's, you know, he's with you. He'll call you in your room, Chuck, and how you doing? And coming from a small town, I appreciated the kind of hometown feel of this college. And as we were sitting there, I kept looking out the window, and there used to be a road and we'd run by this place. Jeez, you know, morning practice, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, we'd be running by, kids eating. Baseball team, you know, 30 of us running around the campus. And I kind of get, you know, it took me back. And, you know, I can't say enough about this school and what it's given me in my life, and, you know, made me the kind of man I am. And there was ups and downs here, and like I see those guys over there sitting at that table, young bucks, ready to go, you know. I shake their hands. I remember shaking hands when I was here and thinking,
That guy, Arlo Pike, who's that? Chris Esmond, who's that guy? You know, we'd get the pamphlets every year before the game. We'd sit in the locker room and read the stats. You know, Chris Esmond, 20 grand or whatever. Who's this guy? You know, and I remember thinking, you know, at the time, you know, I took it for granted. Almost at times I'd see these guys and they'd come back. You know, Chris came back and coached for a year when we were here, and you know, he just a down-to-earth guy. Everyone I've met here at St. Joe's and from St. Joe's has been that kind of person. Just, you know, genuine and caring. And Coach, through my whole tenure here, he was just A1. And Coach Doyle, he was the man. He's not with us right now, but I mean, he was probably the reason why I stuck it out. You know, I had a great career, and I loved it here. And I remember the first game I ever pitched, we were down in Florida. We'd gone down and finally got the shot to come in, and close game. Coach says, "You ready?" I said, "Oh yeah, let's go. I'm ready." So I get in there, start juicing it up. Guy on second base, so Coach always told me, Doyle, he said, guy squares around the bunt, you throw it right here. Right at his chest, he'll get out of the way. So it comes back here, it comes about 95, the guys didn't move. He goes down, the umpire has a fit, you're out of here. First pitch I ever threw. Had him right chest, knocked him over. He's not getting out. Umpire's taking me out. So Coach Doyle wouldn't say a word to anyone, ever. I see him come, he comes right up. And I see him get, he's doing the sand kick. He's going after him. I remember thinking, wow, this guy. So I'm just walking off the field, and I don't know what to do. And then I say, yeah, what? So Coach Doyle's out of the game, and I'd never seen him say a word to anyone. But sure enough, we're walking out arm in arm. Well, who comes next? Coach Sanborn comes out. What are you throwing these guys out? He's going crazy. You're out of here. All three of us. So this is the view we had. I'm going to spin this podium around. This is the fence in the outfield. So my first game ever at St. Joe's, I'm leaning on the fence. Coach Sanborn on one side, Coach Doyle on the other. Coach Floyd's in there, running around. He doesn't know. He's no clue what was going on, but he's running the show now. I remember thinking right then, I made the right choice. Tell 100 stories just like that, where, you know, coaches and teammates have each other's back, and, you know, alumni do great things for this place, and I've never heard that story here. I really would like to thank Coach Doyle and Coach Sanborn and for my chance, you know, they gave me here, coming from a small school, and being nobody, and you know, to give me that chance to say, you know, here's the ball, take it home for us, and I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate this great honor. And I know what, you know, I'm looking at the pamphlet and I'm saying, geez, I played with 6 or 7 of these guys that are in the Hall of Fame on the same team. Unreal. You know, it's an unreal. Coaches I had, you know, that I saw when I was here. And it's fantastic place, fantastic school, and A1 program coaching. And I want to thank everyone here and the committee and Coach Sanborn and Lynn Doyle and my mom and dad, who were both here, and they dragged me around quite a bit. They were here for pretty much every game. Boys at the table, and especially my wife Robin and my 3 little boys, who wanted to be here, but I didn't. I would have been crazy, but anyways, thank you guys very much. And,